Well, welcome to the assembly video for our palm tree layered shadow box. This is going to be a nice little piece of home decor, especially if you have areas in your home that have a beachy theme, or if you are from the Sun Belt or anywhere tropical. This would be a nice little addition to any piece of home or any place in your home as far as home decor goes. So typically when we do shadow boxes, we use some pop dots. In this case, for this one, we're not. We're actually just going to layer it. It's almost like a mandala sort of thing. So it's pretty simple, and I was thinking about the assembly and how to approach it so that it's just easier. And I'm going to share some tips with you here in a little bit. But first things first, we're going to start with the background. This is the main 12 by 12 sheet. You're just going to pull this out. You're not actually going to cut anything here. And your download and your cutouts are going to come with this little corner piece. And this corner piece is to help you center the next layers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take it and bring it up to one of the corners here. And I'm probably going to do at least 3 corners, get it all the way up to the very corner, and then just with a pencil, preferably something with a nice fine tip so that your mark isn't too blunt. I'm just going to draw basically, 2 sides of a box, just kind of an identifier to help you identify where the inner part of that is. And I'm actually going to get just a light colored, really fine point marker to do the rest of them because that pencil is a little too thick. So I'm going to put it over here on this side now. And make sure, pardon my head here for a second, just make sure that you got it right up to the edge and just give it a little mark. Okay, I'm going to go over here, do the same thing. And you could do all 4 sides if you want, it's up to you. Here we go, kind of just making like an L. And that's going to help me, again, take that next layer and make sure that I get it nice and centered. You can eyeball it, but why not use this little tool to help you ensure that you've got it nice and centered. Once you're done with this, you can just toss it. You don't really need it at this point. And again, this is the background. All right, so first layer, I already have them kind of laid out. You can see what this is going to look like. And we do need to glue it because we don't want it kind of flailing around, but you can see how much detail is in this. And we'll accomplish getting this effect by just layering a bunch of sheets of paper. There are specific areas that are cut out to give you this beautiful end result. Okay, so anyway, this is our first layer here. Okay, so go ahead and identify yours. And we are literally just going to glue this down in between those little areas that we just marked off with our little tool. And according to our tool, this is where it needs to be, and that is nice and centered. Okay, so we are literally just going to glue this whole thing down right into place. Now we've got a lot of surface area here, and we don't need to literally put glue on all of it. Definitely the perimeter, and then just a few little squirts in the center just to kind of keep it down. And I'm going to hold this in my hand. I just prefer to glue this way so that I don't get stuff all over the table and make a huge mess. So definitely work the perimeter. And then we'll do a little bit on the inside, just in a few little spots, nice and thin on the glue. Don't overdo it. And again, a lot of surface area here, so you gotta act quick. And we'll just kind of just throw a little bit of glue here and there. Not overdoing it. Don't need a ton. Okay, and now I have to remember, well, you know what? Honestly, it doesn't matter how you put this down right now because we can always rotate this entire canvas once we get it in place. Just while that glue is still wet, just get it on there, make sure it's nice and centered. Let me take a look here, mine is not. And I probably should have used a little bit of a darker marker there because it's not as visible as I thought it would be, but that's okay. You get the idea. And just press that down around the perimeter. Press on the middle part, and actually this would be a good time to use the old brayer to really get this nice and flattened out. Okay. And I've got some areas that did not sit perfectly flat because the glue probably dried out. So I will go in and clean those little areas up. And actually, that little piece of paper that I told you to throw away, probably could have held on to it, because I'm going to use my old little technique of painting glue. I just shoved my finger in a bunch of glue in the garbage can. That's fun. All right, good start to this one, huh? Anyway, so if you do have little areas that maybe, and I need to clean this mat off because it's sticky, just throw a little bit of glue on the tip of a scrap piece of paper and just paint some glue under any of the areas. You can see this whole area here actually didn't stick, but that's okay. I'm okay with this because for large surfaces like this, if you start getting way too much glue on it, it's going to start warping the paper, and that we don't want. We want things to be nice and crisp all the way around, and I'm okay with doing this. And actually that leads me to the idea that I had about the rest of the assembly and how I'm going to approach it to make it easier to get all this stuff nice and layered without trying to get glue into 100 different little spots all in, you know, the few seconds that you have before everything dries. So I'm going to go back over here to this area here where it kind of didn't sit for me as well as I'd hoped. Okay, I'm just going to hold that down in that spot. Okay, so anyway, you get the idea. And I believe, let me take a look and see. Yeah, see, this is my bottom now that I've identified it. Okay, that's my bottom. And I've got a little area there that I want to clean up. And it's okay. There's no shame in that. Now, this may be a great project for spray adhesive, especially if you have repositionable spray adhesive, meaning that gives you a little bit of time to move things around before it sets. Because again, we're dealing with a lot of surface area, and it's a large piece, and sometimes large pieces are not the easiest to work with. Okay, but that looks great. So we're going to grab the next layer, which is this guy here, and literally everything is square. So you just need to pop the next layer right on top of the previous layer, and may need to kind of jiggle it around a little bit just to make sure that it is in fact covering or sitting correctly and showcasing the previous layers where the cutouts are. Okay, so you can see how in this case we've got the backmost layer showing here, and then the layer under that, this nice light yellow, it is actually AC cardstock butter, I believe. Yeah, I think that's the butter color. Anyway, so moving on to the next one, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just in your head, just remember which direction it goes in, because obviously you don't want to put it on like that. We need to start laying these layers on top of each other correctly. Okay, so this one's gonna go like this, so don't forget, this is like the trunk of the tree, and this is the bottom part of the tree. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're getting ready to place this layer down onto the previous layer. Okay, so kind of learned from my mistake here previously, and I'm gonna go a little bit heavier on the glue this time because it really did dry out pretty quick. And gonna keep cruising here. Try to keep that glue away from the previous layer so you don't make a mess. All right, there's my perimeter, and then again, just a little bit on the inside, just kind of go wild with it here, and very, very thin. You don't need a lot. And then try to hit some of these areas here. Okay, and again, I'm matching it up here with these two little cutouts in the bottom of the tree first, and then kind of working my way up And I'll show you here in a second, like kind of what direction my eyes were going here. Okay, and then just really easy with the brayer, press that down. And again, if you have little areas that aren't sitting perfectly, we can always clean those up with that little method. So as I was putting this down onto the previous layer, I was looking at this top layer and first matching it up here. And then when I knew I had these lined up correctly, I started going up this way and then started looking at all these little holes to make sure that those were lined up. Instead of focusing on the corners, I was actually looking at these cutouts to help me with the alignment. And I think the end result there is a little more accurate. Okay, well, actually, it's not even that it's more accurate. It's that the fact that if you get these little cutouts lined up, you know that you're doing it right, and everything else, as far as the corners, will fall into place. Okay, so next up, we got this layer. And again, literally just going right on top. And you can see how nice all these little layers are starting to kind of show through. So with this one, I'm going to continue with the same method here where we just apply our glue to the perimeter initially and then a little bit on the inside. Again, keep in mind where your tree trunk is. That is your visual guide as to the orientation when you go to place this down. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, just kind of working my way around. You gotta hurry a little bit. And then just kind of go nuts. Just go crazy. Like Crazy Frog. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. That'll work. And again, I'm going to use these little cutouts here in the tree trunk. Same ones that I used before, those first two bottom ones, and then kind of work my way up and scan upward, making sure that everything is nice and aligned. And that is perfect. I do have some glue kind of shooting out the side. Just take my fingernail and rub that off. Grab my brayer, press down, get it nice and flat. A very quick little project with a beautiful result that really is just, I mean, you're literally just putting paper on top of itself. So it's very simple. I think almost anyone can do this probably. You could probably do this with a child as well. Take a look at what you have there. Make sure that everything's making good contact. If you do have any little areas that are maybe not sitting as flush as you'd like, just grab that little scrap piece and just paint a little bit of glue right in those areas, and that should hold it for you. Okay, got any little weird stuff hanging out, just brush it off. Okay. All right, so far so good. Got 3 layers on there. That looks nice. All right, next layer is this guy here. So make sure you find this piece. Go ahead and take a look at it, identify it, make sure you got the right one. And just like we did before, same thing, just layering it, putting it together. Okay. And one other thing too that you can do, these 3 layers now are dimensional enough to where if you kind of put your thumbs at the bottom of this green piece of paper and push, you can kind of feel where it needs to stop as well. So a lot of different ways to get a feel, whether it be a feeling or a visual, as far as ensuring that you do have it correctly lined up. Okay, so same thing here. This one will do the whole thing. When we get into some of the pieces on the top layers that are more cut out, we're going to actually glue in sections because there's a lot of little detailed areas that need glue, and I don't think that we're going to be able to cover all of the area in time to, well, cover all the area and also make sure it doesn't dry. Okay, so here we go again, going kind of nutty here. Just get your glue in as many little nooks and crannies as you can, and then just hit these little areas here, just a few of them if you can. One of them will do plenty of work for the rest. So you don't need to put it all over the place. So again, I'm down at the bottom here looking at the tree trunk again, making sure that all of that is nice and lined up, and then scanning all the way to the top, kind of feeling the sides as well. I think I got it. Nailed it. And I'll get my brayer going here. That shifted a little bit actually when I used the brayer. And is that okay? Yep, that's okay. Not a big deal. Wasn't even like an inch. It was just a small little nudge, and that's okay because this piece is nice and dimensional, and you're not really gonna notice if it's just a smidge or a hair off. But again, I do have some areas here for some reason, and maybe it's because this is where I start my glue. This is the first area that dries usually, and maybe that's why it's just not wanting to stick up here all the time, because it seems like all the other sides are okay. Let me take a look and make sure. That looks good. Cool. Okay. All right, so we've got all these layers in place. There's only 2 layers left, I think. Yep. All right, this is where the magic really starts to happen. This is one of the more detailed cutouts, and I think this is where we're going to maybe glue in sections. Probably going to do half at a time, and this is how we're going to do it. I'm actually going to start. I'm going to start on the bottom. So I'm going to put glue on about the first third of this, get it in place, and then we can peel it back and put glue on the rest of it and all the little details, so that it really stays in place for us. Because I don't want you to try to have to glue this whole thing. Look, all these little details here. It's not going to be possible. So we're going to break this up into little sections as far as gluing. And the wonderful thing about paper is it's malleable, and we can kind of bend it and do what we need to do to take advantage of its characteristics. Okay, so laying this down, again, I'm taking a look at the same little section here to make sure that that lines up nicely, and then working my way up, making sure all of that is nice and aligned. That looks great. I'm gonna grab my brayer, just press nice and easy. You don't need to add pressure. Not that much anyway, a little bit actually. That looks good. And actually, you know what, there's 2 more layers, my bad. It's okay. All right, so we're gonna flip this around, put it in whatever position is comfortable. And I might have peeled back a little bit further than I needed to, and that's okay. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start applying glue around the perimeter on this guy. And again, if you don't get it perfect the first time, we can always go in and paint some extra glue. And now we've got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start hitting this with some dots here and there. Okay, just get some dots and then try to hit it here as well. And then get as many dots as you can in here. You don't need to do a lot, just a few. And then go ahead and push that down, because it's already anchored halfway, so we don't need to worry about aligning it. It'll kind of self-align. Okay, this is actually turning out and going together easier than I even thought it would. Okay, next layer. Let's find this layer here. 1 second here. Okay, so this is our next layer, and this is the same color as our background. You can see how that's going to go on. So here's what I think we should do. We're going to do this again in stages to make it easier, and especially because this is a little wobbly too. I'm going to start at the bottom, and then we'll glue the top. So kind of cut this in half. Well, don't literally do it, obviously. That would not be good. Just do half of it as far as the glue goes. Just get your glue on the lower half. Okay, this is on my surface, and I usually don't do that, but I'll go with it because it is kind of a wobbly little surface here, and then just hit it with some dots in these little corners here where these pieces might kind of flail around. Just add a tiny little dot of glue there. Okay, and then here, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to place this down, and I'm going to just line it up with the bottom nicely. Try to get it centered as accurately as you can. There we go. Give it a little nudge if it needs to be nudged. Take a look at the top too. Make sure that that is all looking nice. And there we go. Press that down. Pretty good. Excellent. Okay. Give that a second. And we grab that brayer. Just run it across nice and easy. And well, let me peel this back here and take a look. It's sitting nice. That actually worked out nicely. So now we're going to take this and flip it around, and we'll just put our glue on the other half of this. Okay. And I'm just going to work these little areas here too while I'm working the perimeter, just because I won't have to go back and do it a second time. And the beautiful part about this, again, is it's semi-anchored. It's already halfway down, so we don't need to worry about getting it aligned. Now that we have this part aligned, it should literally just drop into place. You may need to give it a little nudge here or there, but for the most part, that's it. Beautiful. Okay, let me grab my brayer. Nice and easy. Nice and soft. There we go. And I can see right here, I got a little area that's lifting up. No big deal. Okay. And I'm gonna fix that. Oh, actually, well, I ran the brayer. Oh, there's a little area there. Fun. Not a big deal at all. Okay, I'll throw that right under there. Just keep the glue away from any areas that have cutouts. Like, you don't want to get the glue beyond this little cutout area. Okay, so that looks really cool as is, but we do have one more little layer that's going to go on top of this to finish it off. Give it a nice bright feel. And there you have it. Okay, that looks really cool. So, you know what, let's, I think actually doing the top part is probably going to be a little bit easier. It's less wobbly. So let's do the top half on this final section. Okay, get your glue on the top half. And I'm just going to work these little detailed areas as well. Right about to about here. Let's go down here. Right about there is good. Okay, I'll grab that. Grab our little sculpture here so that we can actually lay this down. Yeah, and you know what? I need to stand up. I don't want to mess this up because this is going on the website. Okay, and just drop it like it's hot. There we go. I'm actually just using the corners here to help me with the alignment. I think that's probably the most important thing right now. There we go, beautiful. Okay, so now we got that in place. We can go ahead and take it, just kind of rotate it whichever direction is most comfortable for you, and just flip this back, and we can start applying our glue on the rest of this. And actually, you know what, you could even do this in quadrants. I'm gonna just do this quadrant here, because I think I can still peel that back even with this section down, because this thing's kind of loose. I got a feeling. Okay, we'll just drop that in place. Make sure it's nice and centered, nice and aligned. There we go. And we'll take this quadrant. It's okay if a little bit peels back, no harm. And I'm kind of holding the bottle a little wonky. That's okay. Just putting it on the rest of this quadrant here. There's a few little dots of glue, go a long way. Okay, and that should just drop right into place because everything else is already aligned. And there you have it. That was easy. Very easy, actually. And we'll just take a look at the corners and the edges, make sure everything is making good contact. And ultimately, when we put this in our shadow box, the shadow box is going to kind of squish this. Well, actually, you know what? It may not. It may not squish it. Take a look and see if you do have some layers there that aren't completely sitting flush. By all means, you can take this little scrap piece of paper and just pop it right in there, paint some glue into those little nooks and crannies and press down to get that to sit nicely. And I'm going to take a look over here. I can tell that I've got some areas lifting up over there. I can fix that very easily. Just paint a little bit of glue under the layers that need it. There we go, beautiful. And then just looking at this visually, kind of checking my work, very happy with it. But I noticed that right here, I didn't put enough glue on there, or I did, and I failed to press it down so that it made contact with the previous layer. But never fear, just take your scrap piece, and just paint a little bit of glue on it. If you get a little extra on there, just wipe it off with your finger, and then just press it down into place, nice and gentle. Okay, and then I've got this little piece here that needs a little extra love. Just paint a little glue on that, press it down, voila, done. Okay, so very fun, very quick project, beautiful piece, and it's time to put them in our shadow box. I got my shadow boxes at Michael's a couple days ago. They had a 20% off coupon on the app, so of course I whipped that out. And I got these boxes prepped. I took the glass out. I never shoot with the glass in for the website because of the reflection. Yours will obviously have glass in it. I recommend you put it in there. It'll actually help preserve the piece for eternity. Maybe not eternity, but you know what? I noticed that this box, I think whoever built it maybe didn't do the best job, because I feel like it's a little tight, but there you have it. Pop the back on, and let me make sure I got the little, yeah, see, even this thing doesn't fit right. There we go. Close that up, and it's ready to hang. Take a look here. Let's take a look and see what this looks like in its beautiful little shadow box. There we go. Super cool. That's it, guys. So for those of you that are going to use these in one of your rooms or as a gift maybe, there is another palm tree that's kind of a coordinating piece that goes with this in the same style and same color template or swatch. I think they would make a wonderful pair. But anyway, that is the end result. Very simple, very quick. I think we're probably at, I don't know, 23 minutes, if that. And that's with me blabbing the whole time. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, take a moment and head over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be free, paid, or one of our, what do they call them? Informative tutorials as far as you know, Design Space or Silhouette Studios or whatnot. I put out all kinds of content. So, and if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the 21,000 plus other dreamers that inspire us daily. So head on over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, and or you can actually just type in this address here directly into your address bar. It'll take you right there. So anyway, have a good rest of your day. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I look forward to crafting with you again.